South Alabama will control the tip. And the starters for South Alabama, interesting for South Alabama that Lance Thomas gets in the starting lineup for the Jags tonight. And Turbo Jones also getting the start. Meantime,
KO takes a nice three from the wing, wide open. Can't ask for anything better than that.
And there's a look at Troy's starters. South Alabama playing their patented man-to-man. May see some zone from South, but Odeji, the big man, attacking the basket quickly. No good. Caio Gonçalves with the rebound.
The very first time down the court, they went to their big man.
How about that by Javon Franklin, the bump shooter. He's averaging 11.8 points a game. And trying to complete the old-fashioned three-point play, can't get it done.
These are going to be two hard-nosed teams. You know, everybody talks about making threes, but when you go to practices, everybody's working on their defense. Now, what they are going to do tonight, they're going to hedge hard on any picks. So it's going to have to be, they're going to have to really, really be able to get down and get dirty coming off those picks, or they're going to get trapped.
And the response from TK Smith for Troy. The three-pointer from the top of the key is good. And Troy with their first lead of the ball game, up 3-2.
They're going to get in, pick, KO, pick. KO doesn't pick very much. He sort of has a run by. He fakes like he's going to pick and then goes set up for the three.
And you don't see very often the guy 6'8" that takes so many threes like Caio Gonçalves does. And there's a turnover for South Alabama. Here comes Troy. Quickly up the court.
Turbo's going to have to take care of the ball better than that. Get rid of it.
But creates the steal on the other end. Creates the turnover. Here comes J.J. Chandler. Good defensive recovery there by Troy.
Turbo's only played 2 games. It's great to see him out there. Nice by Chandler. Very nice jumper at top of the circle.
Under some pressure as well, and South Alabama regains the lead. They're up 4-3. And there's some bump underneath. Javon Franklin going up with Odeji. They're going to get Odeji pushing off.
Odeji, yeah, that's major. They're going to front everything in the post. If they get caught behind, that's not what they're supposed to be doing.
And the official just told Effie, you hit him in the face. That was the problem. They're going to let the bumping go underneath, but as soon as you go above the waist, you hit him in the face. That's what the foul was.
I'm surprised if you hit him in the face that they didn't go over and call it intentional, flagrant.
Franklin outside to Jones. Three-pointer no good. Rebound pulled in by Lethbridge.
They're getting wide open shots. They're going in, they're going out.
The Jags 2 for 4 from the field. Troy, I should say, 1 for 2. They're guarding well beyond that three-point line. Three-pointer on the way. Good.
Good by Zay Williams. I tell you, South Alabama's going to have to do a really good job because Troy does a great job of ball faking for you young kids, ball faking and then driving, so that South Alabama can't go for those ball fakes.
Manning tried to take it himself, finds Caio outside for 3. He's got it. Caio Gonçalves, first time he hits from outside the arc, and the Jags back on top, 7-6.
Turbo putting some heat on full court. Dean, I tell you what, those are 2 very quick point guards out there. There we go.
More bumping between Odeji and Javon Franklin. Franklin, the last one to substitution by Troy. We're going to see a lot of that. Troy typically will play about 13 guys tonight.
And they'll come in. I asked Coach today when I went to shoot around, Coach Cross, if they do any platooning. He said no, but we'll throw in good young coaches in the country.
First free throw on the way and good by Christian Turner. He's now... He was a defensive player of the year in high school. One of the reasons Scott Cross wanted him on his team. He likes defense. He's able to hit them both. And Troy back on top, 8-7. Just under the 17-minute mark.
Full court pressure now. Just man-to-man. Looks like they're going to just take some time off the clock, not just really trap.
And both of these teams pride themselves on defense, so the full court pressure, not a surprise from either side. Chandler thought about the 3 as it gives it up to Manning. His 3 on the way, no good. And the rebound pulled down by Turner. Here comes Troy. And Turbo Jones will get the foul, trying to create a loose ball situation at UT Arlington. Of course, that's where he played. And what a great pickup by Troy to get a guy like Scott Cross in the program.
He was at UT Arlington when I was at Texas A&M in Corpus, and when we won the Southland Championship, and he always had a good team.
A misfire on the pass as we wind down to the 16-minute mark here, first half.
When you throw it over Zay Williams, you've really thrown it over a mountain. He's 6'9", 190, and can jump out of the gym.
Marshall Kearing also into the ball game for the first time is Manning out to Chandler. His three-pointer, good. J.J. Chandler, good from long range, and Chandler has 5.
See, they're working hard down there. K.O. tried to take the charge then. He will do that now.
Now Khalil Waters with the answer on the other end, and he says to whoever he was looking at, maybe Manning, said, keep talking. I'm going to do that. Hit the 3.
I tell you, this is a rivalry that goes way back. I remember when Troy was Division II and would come down here, we'd have to score close to 100 points to beat them.
Manning from outside the arc, no good. And the rebound pulled down by the aforementioned 6'9" Zay Williams. Troy with the basketball and a 1-point lead.
This is going to be a 3-point. I wish the ball would go in a little bit more. Everything that's going on both ends is just 3-point shooting. There needs to be some things going on inside.
Clear path to the basket, gets the roll, does Christian Turner. He's got 4, his first field goal. And Troy with their biggest lead right now of 3, up 13-10.
I'm astonished K.O. didn't take the charge on that. He's one of the best I've seen in taking charges and guarding the hole.
Anderson to Kearing. Nice ball movement. Now some confusion as to who was supposed to go where. Another turnover by South Alabama. There's the charge attempt, and they're going to call a block, I believe. Yeah, they'll call the block on Caio Gonzalez.
Because South is fronting, but at the other end, I'm hoping that they'll go, South Alabama will go in some and get some inside points.
He's got 4, trying to make it 5 on the evening. Second of 2 on the way and good. And it's now a 15-10 ball game. Now Zay Williams will get a chance to take a rest. And for the first time, we'll see Nick Stampley. And Stampley, a guy that's been around that Troy program for a long time.
So we got full court pressure coming. It's going to be interesting to see if they're going to trap. Or, no, it's just token pressure. They want to take some time off the clock so when they get down there, there'll be about 20 seconds left on the shot clock.
Try to make the inbounds pass tough. And if you do get an inbound,
nice
you go
back
away.
Door. Oh, me.
Manning unable to control it. Anderson with 13 on the shot clock backs it back out, working on Stampley. Nice spin move by Anderson, goes between a pair of defenders and puts it in.
Very nice move, very good spin move. Tell you what, that is a good looking freshman.
So Alex Anderson, his first 2 points of the ball game. Jags down 3. Troy with the basketball, working on that man-to-man defense for South Alabama.
Down there with K.O. It's going to be very difficult for those postmen for Troy to get the ball.
The shot clock at 10. They do get it on the baseline. Now back outside. A 3-pointer on the way. No good. Kearing cannot get it. And now gets the block of Khalil Waters.
Marshall had a very nice shot block. So they need, got some size in there now. Now hopefully they'll go into Marshall.
Now Chandler from 3. Got it.
Feeling it.
J.J. Chandler now with 8 of South Alabama's 15. And we got a tie ball game, 15 all.
He's 6th in the Sun Belt, averaging 15 points a game. And Manning is 2nd in the Sun Belt, averaging 17 points a game.
Duke Miles gets past the double team, drives. Nice pass inside.
Whoa.
Shot no good, being bounced around, last touched by Troy, and South Alabama will control. And now some more substitutions. We'll see Javon Franklin come back in along with Turbo Jones for South Alabama as Kearing will take a seat.
You're going to need a roadmap. You're going to read a roadmap with all the substitution between the two teams.
And let's talk about South Alabama. We talked about Troy with 13 deep. That's pretty much what they do. But South Alabama has 9 guys, and that is not usual.
Ever.
That's not usual for South Alabama.
Not at all.
Turbo Jones, a guy that broke his foot in the Wichita State game very early on, just came back 2 games ago. And he helps provide that depth. And that one knocked away, last touched by Caio Gonzalez. Jones has done since that injury 8.5 points a game, 3.5 assists a game. Also has 3.5 rebounds. So a guy that is making an immediate impact once he comes into the basketball game. His defense forces the errant pass. And there's...
He's averaging 7 threes a game. I asked the coaches today at the shoot-around if they're happy with that, and they were very happy with him taking 7 threes a game, averaging 7 threes a game.
Chandler under some deep pressure. Nice defense there by Desmond Williams. But South Alabama controls. Franklin over the big man, Effigy. Can't get it to go. And the smallest man on the court gets it, Duke Dean. Duke Dean just 5'8", but by a guy that doesn't play like 5'8" at all.
A transfer from Panola Junior College in Texas. There's some good junior colleges in the state of Texas that play basketball.
Javon Franklin gets the turnover. Now South Alabama trying to break the tie. Nice drive by Turbo Jones. And South Alabama back on top 17-15. So Jones has 2 points. And now, how about that? I thought it was going to be.
Diamond went to the hole. He was wide open. The 5-second count already happened.
So Jags on top by 2, trying to add to it. Manning, big size advantage there, but can't control the basketball. Shot clock at 10 as Anderson drives, bodies hit the floor, no call. Gonsalves to Franklin. His 10-footer no good. Nice rebound there by Christian Turner. And now a loose ball. Who gets to it? It's Manning. And he'll put it in. Charles Manning Jr., first time he's been in the scoring column tonight. Jags on top 19-15.
I tell you what, the pressure is starting to get to Troy. And see, they're fronting down there, and the big fella, Effie, can't get the ball. And we got to be sure that there's backside help.
But how about that from Duke Dean? They're going to front the big man underneath. I'll just fire it from 3, and Dean able to put his first points on the board. But they put Javon Franklin on Effigy, and Franklin probably the most athletic guy on this team with that kind of size.
Yeah.
Winding down to the 10-minute mark, Franklin to Manning.
Very
Great
good ball movement.
Anderson, he's got it. So Anderson's got 4, and the Jags lead is back up to 3, 21-18.
The one thing South didn't want to do in their practices was pick them up late. So they're picking them up close to midcourt, which is a lot of pressure on Troy to be able to handle the ball out front, not get wide open shots.
Once again, Troy working the shot clock, but nothing's been easy for Trojans underneath. Now, nice job by Effigy as he gets a nice lane on Javon Franklin along the baseline, gets the easy lay-in, and Effie Odeji, I should say, able to get his first points of the ball game.
There's a lot of banging going on underneath.
But they're letting it go, and as long as they're consistent with it, I like it. Let them play.
I agree, and I think across the country, the officials must got together and have been able to let them play. They're not calling hand checking as much.
All right, very happy that Charles Manning Jr. stayed on the court. As that loose ball, he almost made himself part of the dance team. Nice little give and go. Dean in the lane, back it back out.
When I went to shoot around today, they spent a lot of time on out-of-bounds plays.
A whistle and a contact away, and that's going to be Odeji. That's number 2 on him.
That's number 2 the same way. That's bothering him a lot. He's hungry to get the ball. That's bothering him a lot by fronting him. He's not used to not being able to get the ball with that big body of his. That's a great job by South.
You take him out of, and great job by the official, by the way, of just letting him say his piece but calming him down. But that's 2 on your big man, and he's going to exit the ball game with just 2 points.
This is a very veteran official crew here, so we're going to see a good called game.
Franklin back out to Manning. 1-on-2, a whistle and a foul, and Manning will go to the free throw line. Guard from Riverhead, New York. He is a 79% free throw shooter, best free throw shooter on the team, and I just jinxed him. This is his first one.
One of South Alabama's to shoot the ball, I would want him at the line.
Second of 2 is pure, and now Marshall Kearing set to check back into the ball game, and they'll let Javon Franklin be the guy that sits out for a little while. And with Odeji out, it makes sense to take Franklin out, give him a rest as well.
One of the things, too, South Alabama has 7 transfers from the portal, and Troy has 3. So if you go by that, South Alabama wins.
Nice ball movement away from the ball, but
he got away with a foul.
Anderson to Chandler.
Nice play.
Finish on the other end. And now we've got a team straight. We're only halfway through the first half, and he's already in double figures.
Texas A&M might want him back.
They should. They need him back. South Alabama will not give him away. I can promise you that. Dean from outside the arc. There's an air ball as he tried to shoot it over Chandler.
Yeah, that one missed the gym. That couldn't have been a good shot. He's got to get a better shot selection than that, especially coming out of a timeout.
And that'll get the crowd going as well. Manning lost control for a second, as did Anderson. But plenty of time on the shot clock here. Chandler working off the screen. How about that crossover?
Nice crossover.
Shot clock down to 5. Manning from 3, no good. I think they're going to get a push on Kearing as he was worked.
The young coaches seem to want to penetrate and pitch, where the older coaches go in and then go out.
What's that old school versus the new school? They love the threes these days, don't they?
Yep.
And speaking of, here's a wide open 3, no good by Miguel. Rebound pulled down by South Alabama. Troy actually out rebounding South Alabama 11-7. And now a nice strip there defensively, coming from Christian Eugene. And now the turnover, the 4th of the ball game for South Alabama. And how about Troy? They haven't scored in over 2.5 minutes, Coach.
Yeah. They're starting to take everything. See, they're getting frustrated. They can't get the ball inside because they're being fronted. So they're not passing the ball around like they were, looking for the inside. And it's slowed down, and they're taking bad three-point shots over there. And he definitely was upset with the officiating about not getting fouls inside when they're pushing the ball in there.
Manning hits his first. 2nd of 2 on the way. He's now 3 of 4 from the free throw line. Manning has 5 points. And the Jags lengthen their lead to 6. In terms of shooting, South Alabama shooting 53% from the field. Troy shooting 40%. But turnovers and points off turnovers have been a big issue. South Alabama, 10 of their points off of 8 Troy turnovers. And they do get it inside, working on Kearing, and the bucket and the foul. Nice job. Free throw line, only 2 of 4 the entire season. But his 5th free throw attempt off the back of the iron, no good. The athletic Manning able to pull it down, and the Jags lead is 4. Troy staying in a man-to-man as well. We've seen that from both teams. How about Javon Franklin? Right place, right time, but can't finish.
Duke Miles is coming to the game. They had some quickness.
Miles, number 15, he had the basketball, delivered it to Zay Williams. Now a tussle underneath every week, saying, I can go, I can go. He says, you're still in a boot. You're not going yet. But he was itching to get back in.
Coach Cross, I know, was talking to him over there. He does a great job, Coach Cross, but he was talking to him about getting better shots and being more patient.
Christian Eugene, same time.
I wouldn't be surprised if we wouldn't see a little bit of zone by one or both teams here pretty quick. They've been going at it pretty hard man-to-man.
And the zone is something South Alabama has slowly introduced throughout the season. They were exclusively man-to-man to begin with. Chandler outside to Manning, blocked, but Manning able to control it. Lethbridge, great defense, and then Manning still with a power move to put it in.
Jake Lethbridge went out there and blocked that shot, so there's a lot of athletic ability out there on both teams.
So 28-22. That matches the largest lead for South Alabama, a whistle and a foul.
In about 15.
Team 5th. Troy with 5 fouls as well, so still a couple of fouls away before we start shooting free throws here. Zay Williams, that's strong underneath along the baseline.
Coach Franklin lost the player inside. He wasn't fronting, and that's what happens. That's what Troy is used to doing, getting the ball inside. They've got to front the ball, and they got to know the ones that are supposed to be doing it with backside help.
And that's where that work in the weight room pays off as well. Jones outside the arc, no good. Rebound pulled down. TK Smith couldn't handle it, but Jake Lethbridge there to clean it up. The drive in the dish outside. Duke Miles for 3, and we got a 1-point ball game. Duke Miles looking good outside the arc.
And you know, they're doing it. They're 1 point down. They're doing it, not playing their game, not getting the ball inside because they can't right now.
Chandler, the game's leading scorer, gives it up to Franklin. Franklin fouled as he goes to the basket. Miguel will get Franklin's had 9 of his last 10 in double figures. He's had 4 double-doubles this year. Free throw is on the way and good. He's a 65% free throw.
Portal kids from Auburn. Franklin was at Auburn and with Turbo. So it's turned out good for them coming here and being starters. And Auburn is not doing bad themselves.
I heard they can win some games here or there.
I think so. Bruce, what a job he's done.
Had a struggle against Missouri the other night, but still the #1 team in the country.
Teams that are good learn how to win.
Miscommunication underneath as Chris the other, and there's another turnover.
And Franklin calls that. He was all over the ball.
Winding down to the 4-minute mark first half, Mobile, Alabama. Pat Greenwood along with Ronnie Arrow. Glad to be bringing you this one from the Mitchell Center on the campus of South Alabama. Jags on top 29-27. Anderson, a bump in the bucket. There's going to be a charge as Anderson will pick up his first foul. Crowd doesn't like it, but I thought that was good defensive positioning underneath by Troy.
I love Franklin. What a freshman he is. Fans hopefully are going to enjoy him for 4 more years and don't get caught up in the portal thing. You know, that's a thing around the country. You know, good kids start playing well, doing well, and then there's always leery about the portal, whoever it is.
Troy, a chance to tie it up, and they do. Nice floater by Christian Eugene.
That's a tough shot, driving at that angle and laying it up soft.
So 29 apiece. Under 4 minutes to go here first half. Chandler to Caio Gonçalves, the three.
Caio, you know, he's been down a few games now, but I really think that coming towards the end, the cream will come to the top and he'll start making those threes better than what he has been doing.
Second three-pointer of the night for Gonçalves. And Duke Dean trying to answer, and he will not with that air ball. But kept alive on the baseline. And now did he step out of bounds? I think he did. So Khalil Waters steps out of bounds. Another turnover by Troy. And South Alabama.
Find if they're going to start winning, they're going to have to start taking care of the ball. It's 10-5 in turnovers. Now they come with some token pressure again.
J.J. Chandler maybe made it a little more difficult than he had to, but able to get it to Manning across the timeline. So Manning driving to the basket, off the glass, no good. And there's a charge, a second charge taken by Troy. Good defense there. I believe that was Christian Turner, the guy that took it, and Manning, that'll be his first.
Both these teams do a great job of taking charges if somebody's driving from the top of the circle or somewhere wide. And Caio might be the best in the country in doing it.
Now, fans may say, look, he left his feet. How is that a charge? But
if there's any doubt, they generally give it to the charge.
So it was a player control foul, so no shooting, but both teams will be in the bonus the rest of the way here in the first half.
The good old pick and roll.
A nice finish there by Christian Turner, and the Jags lead is 32-31.
Yeah. Again, Thomas didn't help from the backside when they rolled to the bucket, and he got in there for a wide open layup.
So South Alabama slowing it down just a bit. Thomas sets a hard pick. But they might get a moving screen violation there, but no call. Shot clock under 10. Manning. Nice move.
Troy will switch 1 through 4. They won't switch with their postmen, but they'll switch 1 through 4, and they got hung up. The 2 of them didn't know whether to take the driver or not.
So Manning's got 9, and the Jags on top by 3. Some more contact underneath. Now right baseline. Again, great move by Christian Turner. He's got 8. He's done a yeoman's job with Efe Odeji on the bench with 2 fouls.
Troy does a great, not a good job, a great job of when someone's driving, they've got somebody low. If you help up on the drive, that person on the baseline is going to be wide open for a layup like just happened.
Anderson has his shot rejected. Last touch. Has control underneath their own basket with a 1-point lead.
So right now, for the Jaguars, you've got all outside players out there. Nice shot.
Caio, March in Pensacola. It's going to be some fantastic basketball.
Forget the pass. You've got sickness. You've had illness and stuff. Now teams are starting to get well. Again, some half-token pressure from South Alabama.
So under a minute to go. South Alabama 37, Troy 33.
And they've gone to their zone now.
First time we've seen it all afternoon.
And we're going to see, because I saw today that they were picking against the zone. We're going to see if they pick.
Three-pointer no good, but the offensive boards, a third try. That one's rejected by Lance Thomas. Here comes South Alabama. J.J. Chandler 1-on-3 wisely pulls it back. Chandler looking for another bucket, and he's got it. J.J. Chandler with 12.
Boy, is he smooth. When he gets that ball in his left hand, anything can happen, a drive or a shot. He likes to do spin moves, but on that one, he just went left and put it right up in their face and made the bucket.
So that's the largest lead matched by South Alabama. They're up 6. We were right. This has been a very good half of basketball.
There is a whole lot of quickness out there and a whole lot of shooters up there staying in their zone.
Clock at 3, at 2, at 1. They let it fly in and out, no good. And that will be your half.
Coach Cross and Richie has both. Coach Cross was in there saying, we're right in this game. We got our big guy back now. Let's go to work. And Richie's saying, good defense. Let's keep our defensive pressure up and keep fronting the post inside.
So here we go, second half. Jags with a 6-point lead. That is their biggest. T.K. Smith trying to drive, and they'll get J.J. Chandler for the foul.
Catching maybe one pass and jacking threes and not even getting a good drive.
Well, South Alabama finding themselves in unfamiliar territory. They've trailed 3 times this season and a half and been able to come back and win. They had the 6-point lead at the break. And now that one knocked out of bounds. Last touch by Caio Gonçalves. Great defensive job along the baseline.
Again, Zay and Effie tried to post and they got fronted. They couldn't get the ball. They're frustrated right now that they can't get the ball inside. Nice spin move.
Javon Franklin able to finish it. He's got 5. And South Alabama's biggest lead now, 41-33.
If Franklin catches the ball that far out and Effie's out there trying to go nose up on him, that's definitely an advantage for Franklin.
Franklin very physical, but also much quicker than you would think when you look at how good of a basketball player he is. How about that scoop and score by Duke Dean?
Transfer from Panola Junior College in Texas.
So Dean's got 5, and the lead is 6, 41-35.
He's gonna go on him.
But I'll tell you what, that was Zay Williams knocking it loose. 3-on-3. Dean, smallest player on the court. And they're going to have an offensive foul. Wow, that's Odeji again. And he's going to get teed up, too. So Efe Odeji just having a nightmare of a first half with 2 fouls. And now gets number 3 and a technical. And Odeji's going to have to sit again.
Yeah.
Wow. But it wasn't so much the foul, it was the reaction to the foul when he started banging on the floor.
Banging on the floor and pushing the defensive player.
It was the elbow you saw there, and then he bangs on the floor. So J.J. Chandler at the other end will shoot the free throw for the technical.
Tell you what, all coaches, especially young coaches, ought to have the same demeanor if they can, like Coach Cross. It doesn't. I'd hate to play poker with him. I mean, that's the face you're going to get with him. Very good coach. I wished I could have been like that, just not saying anything.
Chandler, the 77% free throw shooter, knocks them both down. He's now 3 for 3 from the free throw line tonight. And Efe Odeji, who was so intent on getting back on the court, didn't last a minute and a half.
Some things don't change. It's the Chandler Manning show.
Yes, this is very true.
And Franklin.
Chandler with 14, Manning with 9, Gonçalves with 9, and South Alabama on top by 8, 43-35, and they have the basketball. Nice backdoor. Javon Franklin unable to finish, but he'll get fouled and go to the free throw line. Nice
drive, reverse the ball, drive, pitched for the threes.
Christian Turner's first foul. Javon Franklin able to convert here.
Seems like every time we talk about one of South's players, it's a transfer.
This is very true.
Yeah.
They have really taken advantage of the transfer portal. They've gotten some good ones, including Turbo Jones, who had some great defense there on Duke Dean. And now able to break the pressure is Dean and the Troy Trojans.
You know, the thing about the portal transfers that came to South Alabama, they all came just about. They had 7 portal transfers, and 7 of them came from high majors.
T.K. Smith unable to convert on the three-pointer. Franklin with the rebound. And South Alabama already up 10. Jones to Manning. Fakes the 3. Now will step back behind the line. Three-pointer no good. Too strong. And the rebound by Smith.
You know, again, Manning is shooting 28% from the 3. That was not a good shot. But you know, say something for Troy's defense. They got out there on him and forced him to take that shot.
Zay Williams, nice sky hook, no good though. Manning able to corral it up court to Chandler. Off his foot, able to regain control. Drives baseline, cut off nicely by Hunter. Manning thought about the three again, didn't take it. Spin move, too strong off the iron. How about the work by Javon Franklin underneath, but loses control and it goes out of bounds. But Franklin working hard on
there and almost snuck in there and got the offensive rebound.
We talk about Scott Cross being the poker player. I would like to play poker with Richie Riley because I know exactly what he has every time. He has no poker face at all.
Both ways.
Jones the steal and the finish on the other end. Not there, but Jones goes hard to the line.
Like a quarterback in football.
So Jones, the junior out of Chicago. First free throw is good. He's only 6 of 7 now from the
down here south for school. Being from Chicago, no telling what kind of weather they got.
Second of 2, no good. And it's an 11-point lead, which is the largest for South Alabama. They're up 46-35. They've outscored the Trojans 7-2 in the second half. And now a loose ball. Looks like they're going to call the foul.
He really wanted to post. The post players are really doing a good job on their post players.
Eugene driving through 3, blocked by Javon Franklin. Out of bounds. I mean, he's going to knock it out of the sky, and he does a great job right there.
And he jumps so smooth and so quick. It's like nonchalant.
So the 5th block for South Alabama. Had 3 from Troy. So
well, they're getting some better. They're getting some better passing across the court. Let's see what happens. They get a foul.
Yep, they're going to get Manning as.
They're letting them play, too.
Yep, I agree, and I like it. I like it, as long as it doesn't get out of hand.
Yep.
That is 2 on Manning. Right underneath, the left-handed finish by Khalil Waddle.
In a lot of games, no bone showing, no foul.
As long as it's consistent both ways, I like it.
As a coach, the first thing that you want from officials is just be consistent. If you're going to call everything, do it the whole game. If you're going to call it if a bone's showing, call it that way.
Duke Miles picked his pocket on one end and then able to get the rebound and the putback on the other. And here comes Troy. 46-39, they trail. South Alabama hadn't had a field goal in over 3.5 minutes, Coach.
Yeah, and they're still 7 up, so they're still doing some good things defensively. Nice back door again.
But Troy able to thwart the back door.
And Manning's also got 5 assists.
South Alabama with the basketball on top, 46-39. Franklin outside to Gonzalez. He's got 3 3-pointers. Will drive, dish. Manning outside the arc, no good. And the drought in terms of field goals continues for South Alabama. Big opportunity for Troy. Offensive foul, though, by Khalil Waters. Nice job defensively by Charles Manning Jr. to set the defensive stance. And then you got the push off by Waters.
Both these coaches has done really good jobs. Coach Cross, Coach Riley, and both their staffs has done very good job. When the ball isn't going into the hole, you've got to play defense, and both teams have bought into their defense. That's a positive for this both coaching staffs.
Efe Odeji, the leading scorer for Troy, on the bench with 4 fouls. He had 2 in the first half in the first 10 minutes. And then in the first minute and a half of the second half, got a foul followed by a technical. Turbo Jones drives, gives up the easy one, goes outside to Gonzalez for 3, no good.
The difference in the two defenses is that South Alabama is picking you up almost at midcourt, whereas Troy is all the way picking them up at the top of the circle. Whichever way that you want to go, you might want to start picking up more and putting more pressure towards not all the way to half court, but further out, at least to the hash mark.
So Waters gets the jumper on the baseline, and then Caio Gonzalez is warned for flopping. Got the flop warning. Gonzalez, a guy that likes to take charges, but the official is going to make sure that there is some contact there. There was no contact when Gonzalez tried his little acting skit. Didn't work.
You know what? You just got to keep playing your game. If you're used to taking charges, flop, this, that, just play your game.
6-0 run for Troy over the last minute and a half. It's been over 4 minutes since a field goal for South Alabama. That changes there with J.J. Chandler as he is able to knock it home with 48-41. Chandler with 16.
Again, watch where Troy is picking up. They're picking up at the top of the circle rather than further out, which are giving these guys even closer to the hole to be able to score. And that's what Chandler just did. He just took 3 dribbles, did a spin move, and put the ball in the hole.
Eugene, no good. And some pushing and shoving for that board, and they're going to get full court pressure. They give it to Anderson, now back to Manning.
Now they've extended their defense. I don't know about extending it that far, because when you're guarding Manning, that's what's going to happen. Boom. It was Franklin. I thought he was going to hit his head on the wrist.
That's exactly what happened. Javon Franklin off the feed.
When I said extend the defense, I didn't mean full court. They need to just move it back some, but good gracious.
And once Manning got the daylight, it was smooth sailing the rest of the way. Franklin.
He was licking his chops.
Yes, wanted another one. Meantime, the three-pointer on the way by Zay Williams, no good. And South Alabama trying to get it back to double digits. Chandler, bank is open. He called that, right?
I know, yeah, he banked that. I know out on the courts, you know, you got to call bank shots from that far out and faster and more.
So what does Scott Cross say to his team in the timeout?
We gotta slow down. We can
go shooter. Had 23 games as a junior. He's a second of 2 on the way and good.
Nice form.
And brings it back to 10. And again, some full court pressure by South Alabama.
We'll see if it's token or not. Usually they're not trying to trap. They're just trying to take that. I tell you what, a lot of that comes from Coach Cross respecting the speed of South Alabama and the quickness.
The crazy thing is, Coach, these two teams are going to play again Saturday in Troy.
Well, they'll know each other's moves.
Manning cross court to Chandler. Working on the left baseline. Can't get the hometown roll. Rebound pulled down by Duke Miles.
That looked good from here.
Miles gives it up to Dean. Guarded by Franklin way outside the arc. Now the knuckleball pass to Duke Miles. Three-pointer no good. Kyle Gonsalves up court to Chandler. Here we go. 2-on-2. Chandler
nice
to Manning. Manning now in double figures. He's got 11.
To go, Troy missed 2 games of the Georgia teams because of COVID, and then South Alabama went on the road and didn't play Texas State because of COVID. So there's some games that haven't been played that could have helped some of these teams.
Shot, nice roll there by Nick Stampley as he's able to put it in.
5 players in the country, so that's the coaching staff. Richie and his coaching staff have done a great job of bringing these guys in here.
Well, South Alabama's largest lead is 12. They sit up 10 right now. A little more deliberate pace here as we come out of the under 12 media timeout. Now a turnover. That's the 10th turnover for South Alabama. A lot of contact. Really surprised there was 24 on the shot clock. So they'll get it up top to Stampley. Again, Efe Odeji with 4 fouls. Has only played about 10 minutes in this one. Nice pass inside. Christian Turner able to put it in. He's the first Troy Trojan in double digits. He's got 10.
When you drive, you can't help up, because that, especially if your player that you're guarding is low, because every time they're going to pitch to him is going to be a layup.
Chandler to Manning for 3, just short. Nice job by Stampley to get the rebound, and a good stop there defensively by Troy.
You know, so Manning has got a great game.
Wow. And so does Duke Dean.
8-10 points. They're going to have to put him back in.
And you know he's going to make a difference when they rematch Saturday in Troy.
They're going to have to come up with some way of battling being fronted in the post. That completely took them out of their game. And then they started taking bad threes, and bad things started happening. But I tell you what, credit to Coach Cross and his crew. They're only 5 points down no matter what's happening.
Javon Franklin with the power move.
Great pass.
And
Great
the lead is 7. Three-pointer no good, but I think he was fouled on that three-pointer, and he'll stay on the floor. They're going to put Kearing in after the second free throw by Waters. His first is good. He'll
Marshall's up there. Marshall's up.
His substitution there and says, you know, I'm going to miss this so I can stay in it.
No, I can't say that I have.
Second of three. So Waters, a 74% free throw shooter, makes 2 of 3. And it's a 5-point ball game again, 57-52. Waters now with 11.
And there's plenty of time for both teams. Coach Cross has got his bunch thinking they're back in the game. Let's just be patient and get good shots.
Chandler, stonewalled to Gonzalez, to Turbo, to Manning.
Nice ball movement.
Jones, errant pass. Manning can't come up with it. And the loose ball goes to Khalil Waters. And the 11th turnover for Troy. For South Alabama. Troy trying to take advantage. They'll get a second shot at it. Christian Turner with the offensive board.
I tell you, he's playing a good game, good steady game is Duke Miles for Troy. He's very steady with the ball.
Outside the arc, the three-pointer, no good.
Nice
Marshall
rebound.
Kearing with the rebound. J.J. Chandler does not have the numbers. Doesn't matter. He puts it in, and he's fouled. At Tarleton, he can pull within 1 of that if he makes this free throw, and he does. So J.J. Chandler, 21 points. He's 8 of 10 from the field. He's 3 for 3 from the line, 3 for 3 from outside the arc. Also got a pair of rebounds to go with it.
You know, it's amazing as active as Manning is, and he's hardly ever set up around the goal. He's the leading rebounder with 7 rebounds.
Shot clock at 10. Stampley trying to go underneath. Gets it to the big body, but another block defensively. Another second chance, and now a third chance for Troy. Loose ball right to Manning. To Chandler, who just throw it up. And no good. And they'll go behind the basket. And a turnover by South Alabama. They're 12. Troy with 16 turnovers.
Tell you what, I really like Marshall. He looks almost like he's out of shape getting up and down the court, but he's just a sophomore. You put 20 pounds on that young man, I think he's going to be a heck of a ball player.
Talking about Marshall Kearing, he's just a junior from Perth, Australia, and a guy that really got some confidence. He started against the University of Mobile, but then when they needed him because of numbers against Appalachian State, that's when he really started to, number one, get minutes, and number 2, get confidence in those minutes.
But you know what? They did a good job of getting them the ball inside. When you have a big kid like that, you got to reward him and get him the ball inside.
Miguel can't get it to go.
Nice crossover.
Manning can.
Nice.
Charles Manning Jr. He's got 13, and the lead is back to 10.
13 points, 7 rebounds. That's a pretty good night right there. And we're back to 10 points difference.
Jags 3 of their last 3. It's been over 2 minutes since Troy has scored, and that drought will continue. Troy now over their last 6 from the field. Deontay Smith, he's hacked along the left baseline. That'll be a foul.
So tough to be sitting up there over there a whole game and come back with, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't get his 5th foul real quick.
Efe Odeji, I should say, is the leading scorer on the season for Troy, but right now he's just got 2.
Deontay Smith, 65% free throw shooter from the free throw line.
So the lead is 12. Odeji up high, trying to pick Chandler. And a little pick and roll. He was open. They couldn't get it to him. And Dean, the drive, the scoop. Doesn't go, but he's fouled. He knows the free throws have got to go. Both teams shooting pretty well. Troy 8 of 10, now 9 of 11 for the free throw line. South Alabama
happy to do. They're 10-1 here when they score 70 points or more at the Mitchell Center. I think they're going to get 70.
Yeah. So the lead is 10 as you see Duke Dean now in double digits. The only player on the floor for Troy with double digits. Deontay Smith from 3-point range. He's got it. Deontay Smith, his first 3-point attempt. In fact, his first field goal attempt, period. It's good.
And he's shooting 35% from the threes, so that's the kind of shooter that you want because he was in the dead corner with nobody on him.
67-54. South Alabama on top by 13. Under 7 minutes to go. Long three-pointer short. And Chandler there for the rebound. Excuse me, Deontay Smith with the rebound, and he gets it to Chandler. And Richie Riley says, hold up, let's set something up. And they're going to set up. And Deontay Smith, three, in and out, no good. Quick shot. Do you like that?
Well, you know, he was open, but he hit the same shot the time before. But they're going to have to, if Troy's going to get back in this game, like if they would have made one more pass, my man would have been wide open to be able to do it. They've got to get some wide open shots, which they were doing at the beginning of the game.
Duke Dean had a good look, but it won't go down. And South Alabama gets the rebound. So South Alabama will start slowing it down just a little bit, milk a little bit of clock. If you got an open shot, you take it, but otherwise, run that shot clock.
Start driving here in a minute. Nice little pick.
Chandler, no good. One-handed rebound pulled down by Jake Lethbridge. And Troy on the move. Efe Odeji, his second basket.
Finally, they found him.
They have gotten away with 3 steps there.
Yeah, it's a 11-point game. South Alabama can't go back and just be letting Efe get the ball inside. They got to start front again, get him frustrated.
Chandler drives, pops it outside to Manning. No good, but Chandler with the offensive board.
As good as Manning is, he's going to have to get into the gym and work on his three-point shooting for him to be able to go on and make some good money overseas. He's only shooting 28% for the year.
And tonight we understand App State and Arkansas State played, and App State won that one. So the winner of this game is in sole possession of second place in the Sun Belt Conference. Right. Another great defensive play, and Scott Cross is on the court, and he's going to get certainly teed up. So it'll be 2 technical fouls on Troy. That means 4 free throws for J.J. Chandler.
There's a lot of, you never know your true inner self until you've coached. Sometimes it just gets to a point where you've had enough and you go on. And he left. And hopefully, in his thoughts, maybe that'll fire his guys up.
So J.J. Chandler now with a season high. Hey, keep your head in it. Don't let anything get chippy.
And he's shooting 76% from the free throw line. So
and I'll tell you what, with this game probably in hand, how fun is Saturday going to be in Troy?
Yeah, I tell you, they're going to be waiting on South Alabama. South Alabama's going to have to go up there with the same intensity. But again, I know I kept saying this the whole game. I think the whole thing was South Alabama took Troy out of the game because Troy is so used to getting the ball inside. South front of the postmen inside, and they couldn't get it in there. I think that took a lot away from their game.
Gets a foul and a technical, so he got 4 very quickly.
And those 2 that he got in a hurry was because he wasn't getting the ball, and he wasn't have to cross pick to get somebody open so they can't front, or either go high-low and flash down low so that they can't get there before they do in front of them.
How about South Alabama at the free throw line? 18 of 22. 3-pointer on the way, no good, as Duke Miles unable to get it, but another chance for Troy.
And you know, we shoot 74% as a team from the free throw line, so that just went up tonight.
Javon Frank kind of smiling at each other. Again, that's going to be a great afternoon in Troy Saturday. 13 on the shot clock. They'll fire early. Now a whistle as a foul underneath. Is that Odeji? No, I don't believe so. I think they're going to get Zay Williams.
Yeah.
So Zay Williams, that'll be number 3 on him, a push as he was trying to get the rebound.
Well, Efe went out. Let's see who that foul was on.
It was on Zay Williams.
Zay Williams, yeah.
So we're in the 1-and-1 situation, but you're right. Efe Odeji will take a seat at this point. You know, and again at this point, you know, the game's out of hand. You go ahead and empty the bench at this point, and let's play for Saturday.
Tell you what, that happened to me one time, and I said I took my guys out too early, and I never did that again. And you just have to, you don't want to take everybody out. You want to take them out slowly. You want to keep going what you've got going. But with 4 minutes to go, you know, with 2 minutes to go, you can start substituting a little bit, but you don't want to do it too early.
The Jags with 20 points from the free throw line. They're up 75-56. Winding down to 4 minutes left in this one. Jags have outscored Troy by 13 in the second half, 36-23. Franklin almost takes it away. Loose ball. Who wants it? Manning will get it. Gets it to Caio Gonçalves, who tracks it down. Good job by Troy to avoid the fast break. And now under 4 minutes to go, South Alabama will be very deliberate with it at this point. Shot clock at 11. You expect Chandler to start attacking at about 7. And he's under that now. He's at 5. Got to go. He'll have the three-pointer. No good.
And Franklin comes up with the offensive rebound. I tell you, it's getting physical out there. There's bodies going everywhere.
What a workhorse is Javon Franklin. And Troy with the basketball underneath. Zay Williams. It's a whistle. Is there a foul? I believe. Yes, there was.
He has on that team.
So Zay Williams at the free throw line. He's got 2. Hits the first.
I like Zay. He needs to put on about 20 pounds. He's going to be a monster.
Second of 2 is good. So Williams has 9 points. And it's 75-58. So full court pressure. Trying to get it at the timeline, but South Alabama able to break it. Under 3 to go.
You can start Richie will probably start substituting a little tough pass.
Deontay Smith able to corral it. Goes right through Caio Gonçalves' hand. Out of bounds.
Caio agreeing with him. For all you college kids that are putting your name into the portal, there's some good ones that is right to do and some not. But Caio, 8 minutes a game. So there's some kids that need to use the portal, but there's others. Don't just put your name in there to be putting your name in there. Goes up.
So Duke Miles hits his first and gets the roll on the second. So it's 15 points, 75-60.
I like to see Marshall getting playing time.
Talking about Marshall Kearing underneath. Turbo Jones going right at him.
Nice
He'll take the shot himself. And very Jones nice. Now with 5. And it's 77-60. Three-pointer from outside. Duke Miles no good. Caio Gonçalves saves it to a Troy player, and here comes Troy. That's Desmond Williams with the basketball. Knocked out of bounds by Caio Gonçalves.
Played again at Panola Junior College in Texas. Was a very good player there.
But doesn't play like a 5'8" player.
No. He'll go in there with the battle of the giants.
Trying to split the double team, nothing to it. Here comes Marshall Kearing to Manning. Manning wanted to get it back to Kearing. But
the thought was there, the ball wasn't.
Manning was trying to give it up to the big man, let him slam it.
And that all started with pressure on the ball with Marshall. Don't reach.
So under 2 minutes to go. 79-60, South Alabama. Jones on the breakaway to Manning. There you go.
I wouldn't be surprised if Turbo's going to be coming out of the game real quick. They don't want to take any chances with that foot, especially when you're 21 points up.
How about that? Now 1 for 16. Troy in the last almost
out there right now for South Alabama. That's some good young kids out there.
Christian Turner.
Good young men out there.
Talking about.
I really like Tyler Shirley for a freshman. It's just, you know, unfortunately he's not being able to get more playing time because there's some very good players at South Alabama right now, but he'll get his turn.
So the lead is 20. As we wind to a minute to go, Anderson faces the double team, able to get out of it.
Way to go to the
Smith.
ball.
Loose ball back to Anderson. South Alabama keeping it up near the half-court line. Under a minute to go, Deontay Smith for 3. No good. And now a push underneath. They're either going to get West or Anderson. I think they're going to get 4,000 in the building tonight.
I'm gonna make you a bet he gets up at 3.
That's
he might get up 2 in 54 seconds.
And there he is. 1 of 6, all from three-point range. Second of 2 is good, but how much pressure does he have as soon as he touches the basketball?
Hey, he has no pressure. He's just having a good old time. And you know what? All the players love him. He comes to practice every day. if he's not out on the court and some of them have to run, he runs with them. He's a true.
Smart enough not to put him to get a rebound there. They'll put him back on defense.
When that ball goes,
the game clock, or at this point, South Alabama will get one more offensive possession, so potentially a chance for Sizemore to heave one up. 82-63. Been a great second half for South Alabama. They've outscored Troy by 13 in this second. 3-second difference between the shot clock and game clock.
South Alabama will go to 10-1 in the Mitchell Center this year.
That lone loss to Appalachian State when they had a depleted roster.
They're getting everything together at the right time. The kids are getting back well. The injuries are coming back. Or the players with injuries that had injuries are making it back now.
Looking for Sizemore. There he is. They want him to shoot.
He wants to shoot it.
Go on, do it. Anderson will. No good. There's a shot clock violation. They'll now be in sole possession of second place.